everybody, and welcome to Talkin' Shop. We're going to have an all Source Point press day today, which is awesome because we love those guys and the stuff that they make. So, without further ado, let's bring on Adam Rose.
Hello, how you doing?
Hey, Adam. I can't believe this is the first time we've ever gotten to talk to each other.
I'm excited.
So I did a little bit of looking into your background, and I was so impressed. Like you've kind of done everything. Were you this talented out of the gate? Were your parents like, oh my gosh, Adam is gonna do all the things?
I love just writing in general and have been for as long as I could put words to paper, but in comic books in general, I've been a passionate reader of them, let alone writer, or since I was about 8 years old. I've been collecting that long, or I don't know if I called it collecting back then, but I was just really, the moment I saw that first panel, and it's funny you have that Doctor Who related character behind you, because that was one of the very first comics I ever received from a grandparent. Was a Doctor Who one, but it was I forget which Doctor it focused on. But yeah, no, I've been like writing. Like I started doing a lot of writing back in high school and in college. Like then it was like a lot of like play related things and sketch comedy. And then I graduated into writing a lot of like scripts and comic book scripts. And here I am. I've been writing like comics and like for a good while now. And I study them like it's like more than a passion for me. I mean, I've been studying them. Sometimes I give workshops on them in the process of coming up with and creating your own comics. I mean, I think there's something so incredibly magical about this form. I mean, it's an art form of storytelling that your reader gets so much. They're basically getting an unlimited budget in their brains. Mm-hmm. And I think you can tell the smallest story and the biggest, but both of them, the key element that I've learned over the years, at least, or what I gravitate, it doesn't matter if you have the $1 billion budget or whatever, you have to care about the characters. And it doesn't matter if they're human or not, they can be anything, but if you don't care about them, you're not going to care about the book. And that's what I always try to, I want to ask myself, what does my character want? What's getting in their way? And then just also the magic of our form of just the graphic novel, the comic book, just the page, the panel, go into that double splash page for that incredible dramatic effect. I guess that's where the big budget is. If you have a double splash page, you better make sure you know what you want there, because it's a lot of real estate. And, I do realize too that, more and more people read digitally and all. I'm still a tactile person. If I can get my hands on them, that's what I still prefer. Every Wednesday is like Christmas and Hanukkah, birthday wrapped up in one, and getting to go to my local shop and get my new, stack. And I read them for various reasons. Like back when I was a kid, I read, I need to read Captain America, or I need to read what the Justice League is up to. Now it's like, I need to follow this creator. I need to follow that, that artist. I'm not like beholden to one publisher. And like Source Point is just putting out so many great stories. I'm just diving into like all kinds of characters that, are getting a chance to breathe life into myself, or reading what other people are coming up with is just amazing.
Do you gravitate to a certain kind of genre when you pick up books?
Yes. Yeah, I guess I do. I think nowadays I kind of seek out heavier on the science fiction, but also I like noir. I mean, I've been big on like the criminal series, or like Lemire's
Brubaker stuff.
Yeah, and Gideon Falls was, I guess that's more like a horror. would you call that horror noir or just straight up? I mean,
it's kind of like Twilight Zone horror.
Black Mirror horror. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that. I mean, and then I guess Lemire as well, like Sweet Tooth. I mean, I guess I am a sucker for post-apocalyptic. I have read all the one shots of the new like Marvel Wasteland, like Wastelander, Black Widow, Wastelander, Doctor Doom. That's even I guess this is another Marvel title, but like the Hulk's Maestro, which is kind of like Wasteland. I mean, it's a different post-apocalyptic future. But then I'm also reading if I could find a good quality Western, I'll soak that up. I loved like all the Jonah Hex that happened like in the mid 2000s. But then as far as like epic sci-fi, I'm so happy that Saga is back and going. I couldn't believe like the jump in action in the last issue that just came out. And I still like my my capes and cowls, my masks and tights. I'll pick up any kind of new superhero related stuff as well. So I'm all over the place. I'm like your question is so good because I've been like kind of playing catch up with my stacks at home lately. And like off the top of my head, like other things that I've read recently that were Stray Dogs. Image. That is just
Tony Fleece knows what he's doing.
Yeah, holy moly! I get uncomfortable reading that. I mean, it's so wonderful, and just the juxtaposition of that Disney style with like this horrible psychological murder thriller. I mean, it's intense.
Well, he got us right where he knew he was doing, right? Because he has to know at this point that there's like this huge obsession with true crime. I'm one of those people that's obsessed. And to add it to like anything cute and dogs. And because we've seen that, there's a lot of like things that are dog related now that have gotten a little bit violent.
Yeah.
Like, John Wick, and there's other things like that those two things together were just like mastery.
Yeah, no, it's like you said, like just you take two things that are so ubiquitous, so out, they're everywhere, and you put them together like that. It's like, oh my gosh, like why? I feel like this could be the beginning of like a frightening level of this kind of taking those two things side by side and blending them. And I think it is also, if I could just dig in deep on a second on this.
Yeah.
You've kind of inspired me here. I think it's perfect for this moment in pop culture, in comic books, the confluence, like the kind of the merging, like the fact that like Disney and DC, like because all these properties have become so like non-comic book readers, you name it, they're all in on it. Yep. And so to take that purity of something like Disney and blend it with something like this, I think we're going to see more and more of this kind. I mean, it's also what we're seeing with anime and manga. I mean, there's a blending there. There's a, for better or worse, and I'd say there's arguments for both. There's a westernization of, or I guess appropriating, but I think in a good way because it's bringing in new readers.
I just call it ultra love.
Yeah.
Like, I don't, to me, when you copy something, it's to show how much you really appreciate a thing. It doesn't mean that I'm like taking it over. So I don't know, culture became that way, that we thought that way, but no, it's because we just love a thing.
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more. I think you're right on it. And that actually just reminds me of, I don't know if you've been watching Vox Machina on Amazon. It's
on my list. I went through and watched instead what's the name of it? There's another one that's based on a video game universe that it was so stinking good. I just like binged it. Arcane, that's right, Arcane.
Oh, I haven't seen that.
Oh, do watch. So good.
Okay. Well, yeah, I mean, Vox, I mean, I didn't know until I looked into it after. I was like, what is this? And it's like these voice actors that do D&D, and then they got like a Kickstarter going and it exploded. And now it's like this R-rated animated fantasy Dungeons and Dragons. It's amazing. But yeah,
You have a
I
lot
guess
of
circling back like that, that's another thing that's getting more and more of an uptick as far as that D&D fantasy angle. I mean, I'm loving Die, that
yeah.
image book. That's a beautiful one, and that's kind of bringing that in. And I feel like there's one I was really digging from Aftershock that had these like Dungeons and Dragon characters that were kind of on a crawl. And I feel like in previews lately, I've seen more and more of that kind of realm being brought into the world of comics.
Was it maybe Campisi, the dragon incident?
Yes. And what about the King Arthur? Oh gosh, I'm so bad with names sometimes.
The boom book, dang it. I'm just like cute when I'm like, old brain cells fail.
Yeah. But no, I mean, and yeah, I'm and I guess I bring it back to my comic, like Corollary. It is science fiction, but someone pointed out to me it has a fantasy element to it. Like the characters that they range from characters, like right. The cover there, it has almost a Conan the Barbarian feel to it, but this is a galactic spanning odyssey that this character's on, and at the center of it is her where her heart is, and what it means to be family, what it means to do the right thing by those closest to you, and to like kind of put others in front of you sometimes, and not, sort of like going all the way back to like Han Solo before he was, always in it for himself. But then something happened where he had a Grinch moment to his heart where it became 10 times too large, or however you put it. And that's what happens in Corollary. Is there's a lot of revelations, but there's a lot of resistance to it. And I get back to like what I was saying about that fantasy, like hard sci-fi merger. It has like this galactic spanning, like panda toting assassins and planets that are sentient, as well as all kinds of like a dino city that floats in space. I mean, you name it. There are like
panda toting.
Pandas toting guns. Sorry, they are. Yes.
I was envisioning someone using a panda as a gun.
Well, that might happen. That's a great idea. I like that. I think I could see a little, weaponizing the pandas a bit more. Sure. No, I mean, and I have just working with Rob Ahmad on that, and just the back and forth riffing of like him interpreting the ideas I had. There's a galactic courtroom scene, and I wanted the defense attorney to be a talking, sentient, giant kind of vase. And we had to go back and forth with that. He's like, do you mean like this? I'm like, no, it's got to be bigger, and it's got to have a bigger face. And like that, I wanted not only like anthropomorphication, I wanted like objects that would never be thought of as having intelligence. I mean, yes, we've seen like talking planets before, like with Oa in Green Lantern and all, but I have a couple talking planets in this. They are very bombastic characters. They have like a lot of personality to them, and they have their own wants and needs. I wanted every character that we meet for us to get an idea about something about, what drives them, what motivates them.
Right, so you read a lot of books. So if there's a lot of help for people that are trying to figure out if they like a book by comparing it to, usually people say, if you like this and this, you'll like.
Okay. Yes. My easy one, and I know it's saying a lot, but if you like Guardians of the Galaxy, and if you like Saga, but take out the R-rated part of Saga, I think you're going to like Corollary. I think that's the audience for it. It's got like just every kind of action-packed page after page, but also just these quieter moments between family, and just the stakes are constantly like kind of raised with each issue. I mean, it starts where things seem like that our main character is on easy street, but then we realize very quickly. It's hard for me to say too much without revealing, because I think there's a huge reveal at the end of the first issue, because this is the whole premise for this galaxy is it's populated mostly by twins of all kinds of sentient beings, And in this galaxy, the rule is if your twin dies, so do you.
Oh.
And people or beings have to find a way to make sure that doesn't happen. Or if it does, but the one person that seems to have gotten away with that is our main character, Cass. And the galaxy wants to know how they've done this.
So is that the main conflict at the center of the book?
I'd say, well, it's between, people want to know, or beings of all shapes and sizes want to know how Cass has survived. And Cass cashes in on that to some degree. And then we just find out some other significant pieces of information early on that change and kind of almost flip the script onto what Cass is about and how she's going to get what she needs.
Earlier on, we had someone asking about who the artist was, and you mentioned who that was. How did you connect with that person?
So Rob Ahmad, I connected. He's based out of the UK, and he's done some American work, like with Scout, Action Lab, and a couple others, and plenty of work in England. And I was referred to him by another artist, and they said you can try Rob, but he's going to have to really like the idea to get behind it. So I had to sell Rob on it. I had the whole thing scripted and the synopsis for the 4-issue arc. And he's like, let's try it, but let's maybe try it as a little 5-pager first and see what that's like. Mm-hmm. So we started with kind of a snippet of this story. And then we really got experimental, or I should say Rob was willing, because I love his art. His art, I feel like it reminds me of the Batman animated series style a little bit, little Bruce Timm in there. But he, when we got into coloring mode, he said, how about we try watercoloring this? So he watercolored the first 3 issues. And then the 4th issue, we matched that watercoloring vibe, because at that point, it was insanely taxing for Rob to do.
Yeah.
So we brought in this incredible colorist, Gabby. She took over for the 4th issue and actually did it in his watercoloring style, but digitally. And that's...
Well, so he was doing it practically to start.
What, say that again?
So he was doing it practically to start. He was really...
Yeah.
That's a lot of work. Wow.
Yeah. No, and it added this vibe and this kind of otherworldly energy to his already beautiful inks that just works for this. It's like our characters are living through this galactic dream, this space opera nightmare turned sometimes nice dream, sometimes back to nightmare. And it gives that, back to what you said earlier, but like a Twilight Zone vibe. I think sometimes you don't, it feels like this questioning of reality, especially with the different types of characters that are interacting with each other.
Mm-hmm. We've got some awesome people watching with us today, so it sounds awesome. One of our viewers, Sean, asks, who's someone you haven't worked with yet that you want to?
Oh boy. Who's someone I haven't worked with yet that well, I mean, I am the hugest fan. I don't even know if he's working regularly these days on comic, actual issues, but Frank Quitely
man.
I mean, if you're asking,
for the stars.
I know that's ridiculous, but I mean that's the first name that popped into my head. I mean, I don't know, honestly, the artist, working with Rob and I did an all ages before this. That was just a collected graphic novel called Playground that I worked with an artist out of Maryland named Charles Tofield. That was an amazing experience. Well, I know that I am a huge fan of this. I don't know if you heard of Jenny Zero, Dark Horse comic.
Absolutely.
Well, Magenta King, I love their artwork. I think that's of some beautiful. It's gorgeous. So that's somebody I dig working with. And I guess I also have to mention, working with Source Point, Josh and Cameron. I mean, they have just been incredible as far as the support and the feedback, and just really they tell it like it is to me. They don't mince words when the issues were coming into them, their notes, and just making it as amazing as we've managed to make it is just, I owe them a lot. It's they're so kind with their time. I was actually I didn't know it until halfway through a couple of like Twitter messaging to Josh that it was his birthday Sunday. So I'm like asking him some like brass tack questions about Corollary, and then I noticed people wishing him a happy birthday. I'm like, oh hey Josh, thanks, happy birthday by the way. And sorry I've been making you answer work questions on your birthday and on a Sunday, let alone the Super Bowl.
Yeah, the thing you
I
need
mean,
about Josh is that he's a very selfless person.
Yeah.
That he lives to raise other people up, and that's why he's just an amazing person in himself. And the people around him recognize this in him.
I mean, right off the bat, I really feel fortunate to work with him, and I hope to continue working with him and SourcePoint in the future. I'm a big fan of their work. And like just digging, I mean, his series, the Winchester series, is just riveting. I mean, I don't know. I feel really lucky to be with them, and it's just the creativity that they allow you to kind of generate is amazing.
So when is an idea of Fiona Staples with your work?
Oh, yes. I mean, like I said, I just read that last saga. It's stunning. I mean, absolutely stunning. And I mean, I got to admit, am I allowed to like say something about that issue? I don't want, earmuffs if you didn't read the latest,
Let's go la 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 for the next couple minutes.
I'm still, the fact that's a series where nobody's safe. And I fact that what's our main, the dad is gone.
Mm-hmm.
And it had, they took that like year plus break or whatever. Like that broke my heart just seeing his skull there, like that whole Hamlet moment, just like seeing. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I do love that the will is back and looking good, but of course, yeah, I don't know. So that's not directly answering, but no, Fiona Staples' artwork is incredible. I mean, I don't know. I think I can see why that they had that bit of a break, because my hand would get tired.
Yeah, I think the best part of that issue, the comeback issue, is the going topless to sell baby formula is just
classic. Yes.
Who does that?
I know. And she had her mask on, like from the soap opera superhero stories that she was a part of before. Yeah, no, there're just so many cool little nods. It's amazing. I mean, comics in general right now. I could talk all day about the series that I'm just getting into. And I don't know. I feel like, we're in a really lucky time for like just what is coming out, like from all the way from all ages to, stuff as like R-rated as Saga can be. It's amazing. And I don't think there's one, another one that is blowing me away, like the On Top of the Lake. Is that the name?
Or am I Nice House on the Lake.
Nice House on the Lake. That's right. Top of the Lake, I think, was that murder TV show with what's her name, Kate Moss. Yes, that's that one. I mean, there's a lot of series that I struggle even identifying what genre what one genre I would put them in, and I like that I'm struggling. I like that there's this blending going on, and that you can say yes and to anything in the world of comics. That's what I love. Like I'm just finishing up a new script, and if I were to quantify this new series that I have, it's horror, neo-noir, fantasy. It's a murder mystery that gets kind of ramped. It's entrenched in the modern world, but there's like a huge fantastical element to it. And I'm inspired by so many different creators, and the community that is here is just amazing. Like just talking to you today, I feel really fortunate to have this chance. Like it means a lot to me that you're taking the time to talk to me about Corollary and SourcePoint and all that. Seriously, I just want to say that before I run out of time with you, that it means a lot just to get to riff with you like this.
Well, it's a super big honor because I am a store owner on top of doing a lot of hosting duties, but before all of those things, I am a comic book fan, and I do read a lot of books. So I totally I feel like you're a big fan also. So
huge.
It's like hanging out, getting to talk with friends about what they love.
Yeah, that's funny you say that, because I remember I was starved for people to talk to, and especially in high school. And in fact, that's another thing that's changed a lot. Like back then, I mean, I'm just speaking for myself. I felt like I couldn't like jump from like the rooftops and say, I love comics. Because it wasn't, I don't know, there weren't a lot of people that would join me in that battle cry, and things have changed a lot, thankfully. But like the times that I got to talk to someone like you were the most, like, that's where I like woke up. That's where I became alive. Like just talking like this right now is just, this is everything. This is like my adrenaline, my blood, my heart pumping, like every synapse that I have left is just crackling. So I mean, it's too much. It's my love and joy.
Well, I would love to talk to you forevermore, but I think that you have a real hard out time for you. So why don't you share with everybody the best way they can connect with you on social media so they can continue this awesome conversation?
Sure. Yeah, I guess I am building a website, but that's slow in its trenches. Twitter is definitely a great place, at Adam Rose 74. And then separately, my Instagram handle is at Shazam Cap. Yeah, I got that Shazam part of the name. I'm proud of that. Like long before the Black Adam or Shazam movies came out. So I'm still waiting for them to like offer me $100,000 for that name. So I'm just patting myself on the back that I'm Shazam. Like, wow, I got away with something. I feel like I got, I don't know. I'm kidding, but yeah. So at Shazam Cap and at Adam Rose 74 Twitter and his Instagram are my big ones. But yeah, no, this has been great. Thank you very much. Corollary comes out April 20th, issue 1. And please like talk it up, get it going. It's a 4-issue series, and I really appreciate this time. It means a lot.
Well, thank you. And I just a reminder to everybody, there's plenty of time, given that it's not until you've got some months. You can get it on your pull list. And
that's right.
Now I say absolutely put things on pull list, just because of the way the world's working with shortage of paper and scheduling stuff. You might forget, and then you'll be sad. So don't do that. Don't be a sad person. Put Corollary on your list now.
Get it now. I couldn't agree more. Well said. Thank you.
All right. Everyone say thank you very much to Adam, but don't go anywhere, because we get to talk to the person we were talking about earlier, Josh Werner. He's going to be on next to talk to us.
Thank you very much. Take care, everybody. Appreciate it.
There's something for every imagination at your local comic shop. Visit comicshoplocator.com to find a store near you.
They say it, and it's true, that everything is getting faster. You're not getting any younger, and time is the single resource that you can never get back or get any more of. So why walk into your local comic shop blind when you can go in laser focused on the best books on the shelf?
Hi, everybody, and welcome to Minute to Skim It. Yeah!
Spend 1 hour with Miss Jen and Bean, and they'll give you rapid-fire reviews of all the new comics hitting stores. Spend less time shopping and more time reading.
This is Provenance of Secrets.
This is The Heathens. I read Wolverine number 17.
Minute to Skim It, every Tuesday at 7 Eastern, 4 Pacific, on The Experience, Comic Culture and Sales.
Oh my goodness, that was such an awesome talk with Adam Rose. I was super happy I got to talk to him about his books. I'm gonna have to go back and hunt that Playground book down, because I like all ages stuff and it sounds awesome. But we get to talk to someone cool again. It doesn't end on this show. We get to talk to Josh Werner. It's a Source Point day.
Hey.
Oh, you look way too cool. What, you're wearing a beanie and a hoodie and looking all Hollywood.
That's me because it's so cold in our office.
It's cold
Thank
here,
you
but
for having me. How are you?
I'm doing really well. It's been a crazy day. We just got like 3 pallets of stuff into the warehouse. So
We did too today, actually. Yeah. So it's a crazy day here too. I'm so glad that you had Adam Rose on. He's a really cool guy, and I'm very, very excited about Corollary. That book, I signed that book over a year ago, and
Oh, wow.
it's so exciting that it's finally done and it's here and it's in previews, and we've always just really loved his concept and what he was doing with that, and I'm just really, really proud to be publishing it, and I'm really proud to be putting out more all ages content this year. That's a really big goal of mine. So Corollary is kind of leading the fronts on that. I was excited to tell Adam that his cover of issue 1 is on some Fan Expo badges. It was kind of a surprise. Yeah. So we've got like Kids Day, kids youth badges for one of the days at some of the shows will have Corollary on it. And yeah.
So
yeah.
Corollary is all ages. I
Yeah.
didn't catch on to that. I'm gonna write that down. It's all ages because we're ramping up our all ages area big time. So more stuff I can have over there, the better. So you touched in a little bit about on something that I don't think a lot of people know how in the world it happens in the world of comic books, but it is something that you do on the daily basis. Is like you're hunting down new properties, new titles, new creators and creations to bring into the brand. What does that look like for you?
It's an interesting time for it. It's there's so many good options out there. I mean, there's some really great publishers, and I'm really, really happy and lucky that a lot of creators give us a first look. They show us what they're working on first, and we unfortunately our schedule fills up about a year in advance, and we don't have a whole lot of slots for a whole lot of stuff, and we're really focusing on miniseries, and we get a lot of people who are bringing us maxi series that look amazing, but we have no choice but to turn down. And what ends up happening is I think the way that we reject people, it must be working because they keep coming back. Like they don't feel rejected. They don't feel like they have to take their stuff elsewhere. They just say, okay, like I'd love to check in when I have something new coming up or some new ideas. And we say, yes, please, like don't stop. We want to, keep throwing it at us. Eventually we're going to say yes to something. And so we end up just forming these really cool relationships where I'll just check in with a lot of people who submitted and just say, hey, what are you working on now? Or how did that other book, end up working out? I hope it's going well for you, things like that. And it's just amazing how many people just kind of pop up with something very cool and new.
So you're basically saying that you saying no to someone doesn't mean no, your stuff's bad, or no forever. It is a no, I can't fit it right now. A lot of times. It's
so
just
true. Yeah.
Can't put it in here though.
Especially it's a creative field, and we all we treasure our creations, and they're like our children, and having it rejected by a publisher can feel personal, and it almost never is. There's so many things happening behind the scene in our scheduling and what's coming up that we can't really talk about. So what they may not realize is we had to reject it because we have a really similar title that's coming up, and we wouldn't want the two to conflict with each other or steal sales from each other, or that we kind of tapped out that genre and we're trying to shift a different direction for the remainder of the year's schedule or things like that. We turn down a lot of books that are just fantastic, and it's not a sign of their quality. And so I always encourage creators, like, just keep going. Don't take your rejections personally. It oftentimes is not a reflection of you or your team or the quality of the book. It's oftentimes just limitations on what the publisher can do right now. And we put out a pretty good number of titles a month, and it gets harder every year because I just fall in love with the work of these creators, and I want to keep publishing them. So the more that happens, and the more we have repeats, creative teams, and the smaller the window gets for first time submissions to get in the door. And now that window's getting a little bit smaller again, because we're doing so many more licensed books coming up in the next year and a half, 2 years, and also in-house IPs as well that we're developing, and our own universes that we're building out, and our own titles that that don't come through submissions. So yeah, it's tricky. It is a tricky time, and there's so much great content out there. So many great creators making really cool stories. I wish we could publish them all.
Oh yeah. Are there any books that are currently y'all's that are on the rack in the last like 2 or 3 years that you had to like box out on? Like you had to work hard to like secure?
Oh, that's a good question. For the most part, we have lost some people during the like submissions phase. Like we've had just, there's somebody gets a sense of, oh wow, that creator's working on something, they posted something, and then you get 2 or 3 publishers contacting them that they're just starting to pitch or about to, or maybe they just pitched to us. So I can say that we've had a lot of titles slip through our fingers that we were really excited about when we got the pitch, but you know, some rival publisher kind of like threw some upfront money or an advance or something like that and just kind of like stole them away. And that does happen. And, you know, I never take it personally. It's always friendly. But for the most part, the people who've chosen to go with us, I didn't have to do a lot of convincing. They wanted their book. They wanted their book with us. We got a lot of, in the past year, I'd say we got a lot of creators that are new to us, but not new to comics by a long shot. And I was like, Ryland Grant is a great example. Ryland is an award-winning writer who's put out so many fantastic comic books and has a really great fan base of his own. And I was absolutely thrilled that he brought Suicide Jockeys to us, and it was looking for a new home for his work. And it wasn't somebody I had to kind of chase and beat down. And it didn't take long, you know, after a few calls and discussions for him to say, wow, this is a good place to be. Like I made the right choice to come to you guys first with this. And I'm really happy to see that we're getting more of that. We're getting more first time to us, but really experienced, fantastic creators who are like, I keep hearing about you guys and I want to see what this is all about. I usually just go straight to my normal publisher, but this time I want you guys to take a look at this and see, you know, what you can do for me. And we're getting a lot of that right now. My lips are sealed, but man, the books we have coming up, oh, they're beautiful. They're amazing. And with so many fantastic creative teams that we haven't worked with in the past. And I'm really excited. It's getting really hard for us to pick and choose through all these amazing submissions we've had.
I also wanted, before I forget to do it, congratulate you on bringing some amazing team members alongside y'all for the company, including very recently adding Dirk Manning to the group. Smart cookies, y'all.
Yeah, he obviously, I mean, he's been in the industry a long time, and he's a super prolific creator in his own right, but he's also a very good project manager. Anybody who's worked with him, he's extremely professional, and he tends to keep a really tight schedule, and he runs a really good ship, and he knows how to work with a lot of creators at once. Butts and Seats is such a great example. That was a really big undertaking. For those who don't know, Butts and Seats it's like an autobiographical wrestling commentary on like the past history of Tony Schiavone's career. And it's this beautiful retrospective in every story that he has throughout time of his career, or where he went, you know, this was at WWF, this was at WCW, you know, and each story is done by different artists. And by the time we finished it, we had a dozen creative teams involved, and it was a lot of moving parts, and we held a really, really big Kickstarter with some really incredible rewards. And there was a lot going on. We had multiple ash cans. We had live AEW events that were talking about our books on television that were timed at certain, you know, intervals. That we had a ton of videos from professional wrestlers talking about the books that were going on. And you know, Dirk was.
They love Tony.
Yeah, they really do. He's got such a great fan base, and Dirk really did a great job of managing all that in the background. He was handling all these different people and all this different work, and the book was a huge success in bookstores, comic shops, the web, Kickstarter, everywhere. It did really well, and I would love to just lasso some of that skill set. A lot of people just kind of think of him as a writer, but honestly, he knows his history inside and out. He's a lot more than that.
Yeah, he's done some other things that I think people don't know about, like his Right or Wrong book series, which it's basically teaching you how to be a writer. And,
Absolutely.
Things to it. It's a very helpful book.
Yeah, and we're going to be actually publishing a new edition of that in the future, with brand new content, because there's always an ever-changing industry. So for those who do own a copy of Right or Wrong, if you see a new edition come out, buy it again, because there's always going to be new information that's really helpful. But yeah, I'm really excited to have him more hands-on and involved in kind of working on these very special projects like Butts and Seats, working on some more licensed IPs and handling some real life talent as we try to go in and tell more stories from real people or musicians or entertainers. And so yeah, we're on the phone pretty regularly now, kind of talking through our pitches and how to approach certain IPs, and he's got a good head for it.
So walk people through kind of what your day involves in terms of the mixture of things, the editing, the hunting down new projects, the trying to find paper, the talking with Dirk on the phone. What does that look like?
Let's see. So last week I did the shortest day that I worked was 12 hours. That was the shortest day. And that was leaving at 8 p.m., 8 to 8. And then a few nights, most nights it was like 8 a.m. to 10:30 p.m. And then towards the end of the week, where I was really trying to hit deadlines, I was 8 a.m. to midnight. So it was really, I leave just enough time to eat something and fall asleep and get up and do it again. So I've been working a lot of hours. It's not always like that, but I wear a lot of hats, and I'm working on numerous projects at the same time that I'm also looking through all the submissions with my submissions editor, Josh Sobek, and having scheduling meetings where we try to keep adjusting the giant puzzle that is the rest of the year. So there's lots of meetings about those, and then a lot of calls for onboarding with all these new creative teams. They're getting their contracts, and they want to talk about ideas and variant covers and release dates, and they're just eager to speak to me. So a lot of calls. And then I'm still very hands-on in working with Martha Webby, our art director, which was my old position, working alongside her to keep prepping all of these files for prints, and I'm managing all of these printer relationships, which is getting more difficult, and trying to look down the road to make sure that we're going to have paper and that we can shift to another facility if necessary, or make some kind of paper compromise to try to keep on schedule. So that takes up a big part of my day. And then on top of it, I'm writing a couple projects in-house for us right now. One of them is quite big. The IP has been announced, but I haven't been announced. I guess I can announce it today. You'll be the first to know. We announced at New York Comic Con that we're getting the Molang IP, which is this just massive children's IP.
Wow.
It's got this awesome animated series on Netflix that you can watch, and it has a huge product line of toys and plushies and clothing, and it's all about helping people and love and friendship and kindness and positivity, and it's just this incredible ray of sunshine, and that I really, really, really want to bring to comic books. And we currently have multiple things in development with Molang, and including graphic novels that I'm writing. SourcePoint has been around just long enough now where we have old school hardcore fans, readers, or now have children that are also reading comics. So they're still coming in to buy our books, but for the first time, they have another generation with them. And I want to cater to their children just as much as we cater to them. So getting more kids stuff in is really important to me. And I'm putting a big focus on this year. So I'm really proud to be writing the Molang graphic novels. I am not working on them alone. I have some really incredible creators that we haven't announced yet. So that one's still going to be secret. But that's something that's taking up a big part of my time right now too. Plus, I'm still writing more Winchester Mystery House comic books as well for the next volume, and we just wrapped up a free comic book day comic for that, which is coming soon. So that's exciting. So I'm doing some of that. I still do some artwork too. I jump in and do some covers. I'm doing colors on a comic book right now.
How did I not know you were an artist too?
Yeah, I do a lot of our covers and logo design and things like that. Like the cover of Classic Pulp behind you, I painted that. I painted that drawing there. Yeah, I did that cover. Yeah, and then Holliston Goes to Hell. I did the colors on that graphic novel, so I'm the colorist on that too.
And it's right on there, like I with the Jay Werner on the cover. What in the world? Yeah. Okay.
Sometimes I do lettering too, like on bug bites and things like that. So yeah, I'm always jumping in and filling in holes here and there, wherever I'm needed. And then on top of that, there's licensors that I have a lot of meetings with, and then I'm always trying to look for awesome new artwork and browsing and sending out kind of like feelers to people in the industry that I just don't know yet, just that I want to know them. I want to keep tabs on what they're working on, what they're up to, and one of these days our paths will cross and line up just right where we can collaborate. And that magic happens almost every month here. There's always something of like, I planted a seed a year and a half ago and it's come to fruition and I'm so excited. And that's been great for cover artists too. Like I'm finally seeing covers from some of my favorite artists, on our books, and people I've dreamt of having covers, for years, like Robert Hack and Francesco Francavilla and Nick Bradshaw. And just, it's so exciting, getting to pull some of that in, just, people I met years ago and just told them how much I appreciated their work. And now I'm getting to work alongside them. It's very fun.
So one request from a retailer for when you start getting really hardcore into those all age books.
Yes,
I see great success in what I call the scholastic size book.
Yeah. So I have a few titles coming up that are going to be a little bit smaller like that. So Molang, for example, we're not going to do single issues for that. We're going to do graphic novel volumes, but fairly small, low price point. But they are 6x9 is the size that we're going with, which is. So
for anybody that doesn't know what scholastic size, this is what we're talking about. It's a little bit easier for kids' hands.
Yep,
it's fit in their backpack easier. Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're used to that because of the scholastic book fairs that all have that same kind of like sizing. That's what their mind kind of like looks for. So it helps them to like, I don't know, it does something for them that allows them to think, oh, that's a book that's for me.
It can be a struggle too. We're so proud of some of the kids stuff that we're signing, but some of it is, I know it has a huge potential for adult audiences as well. And I don't want to ostracize either group. And sometimes there's just visual cues that for branding and things like that cue people in, such as the size, as to whether or not it's really intended for the younger audience and the adults should just pass by. And I'm having that struggle in a couple titles coming up that I'm just, I thought we should shrink it down, especially for our bookstore distribution as well. It's a big one. But I knew that it has a potential to win awards. It has a potential for adults to absolutely love it. And I don't want them to miss it because they thought of it as being strictly for the younger audience. So some of those
decision-making process for like Yuki and Panda.
So that comic is actually a bit more mature than most people think it is. Anybody who reads Yuki versus Panda, there's like I would put it at like a Simpsons to somewhere between Simpsons and Family Guy level of humor. But it does have a big appeal for kids. So like I'll put it at the older kid end of the audience, not as bad as our mature titles, of course, but it's definitely not for super younger ones. And I've got a few coming up that are very clearly, and then a few that kind of walk that line. But second place is an all ages title that we have out right now that we decided not to brand strictly as a kids title, but as an all ages title. There's some stuff that is strictly for kids that I'm branding as specifically for kids with a different logo. We have a SourcePoint Kids logo that looks a little bit different from our other ones. The idea being it's a visual cue for parents. If you see it, your child is safe with that title. And then the website that's inside of the comic book, instead of saying sourcepointpress.com, it says sourcepointkids.com. And that actually takes the parent to a curated selection of our web store that is all ages titles. It'll include all ages and specifically the kids titles. So you'll see a mix of both logos in that, but you won't see anything that's mature. You won't see anything that's not intended for that audience. So we have some stuff that's kind of branded like it's for adult audience because we know adults will enjoy it too, but it's still okay for kids, and that we'll make it onto that site. But the stuff that's specifically for kids, we actually swap out the website inside so that they don't mistakenly go there to our website and find comics that aren't meant for them.
Sean says, who's watching with us right now, that has several friends with kids ranging from 2 to 8, that he definitely gets books like that for he was very interested in Corollary.
Cool. Yeah. Corollary is a great one. It's the type of book that adults will love, older kids will love, and younger kids can read. It's just that it's really, it hits a big range, and it was part of what attracted me to it. That and just this beautiful watercolor and with these great bright palettes and some really cool characters. And I'm very, very excited for that title.
So outside of the Molang, sorry, I always say Mojang, and the Winchester Mystery House, do you have any other projects that you are working on that you can talk about that aren't secret?
Sure, yeah. So Classic Pulp Robots is in previews right now, and I'm still doing some cleanup work for that one. So for those who don't know, Classic Pulp is quite literally it's old school pulp comic stories that I handpick and curate into these little collections, and oftentimes include interesting, cool, fun bonus material stuff too, or might be like a prose story or a magazine article or things like that. And the goal of that project is really just to make sure that certain content doesn't get lost to time. The stuff that I choose tends to be either extremely hard to get, super expensive, you're not going to be able to read it if you own one, or the remaining copies are heavily damaged and just not likely to live on much longer. So I spent a lot of time repairing rips and removing marker and crayon marks and water damage, and restoring artwork that was partially lost, and trying to get it to look as close to as it did when it first came out. So the whole point of Classic Pulp is it's just like a side project passion of mine, and it's just meant to be like a time machine. So that is what's on the screen now is the first collection. It has four of
obvious that it's classic.
Yeah, definitely, yeah. And then also has a bunch of bonus content in it. And then so Robots is a really fun sci-fi collection of stories that center around robots, and also has some early popular mechanics style looks at the future of robotics and things like that too. And then I'm finishing that up at the same time that I'm simultaneously working on restoring a bunch of content for an upcoming called Classic Pulp Sci-Fi, which is not going to be in previews for a few more months. But so that's kind of plugging away in the background. And then I'm also writing a horror miniseries that hasn't been announced yet either. But that's very much a back burner project that probably won't be announced until the end of this year. and probably come out in 2023 sometime.
Okay. So, what inspired you to do this rescue of classic pulp? Was there someone in your life that inspired that idea?
I've always, all of my heroes are I've always in film and in comics and in literature. I always felt like I was just born about 30 years too late. They've all been, my entire life, have all been passing away. Like they're just, all of my heroes are I'm losing them quick, and I'm seeing so much of their work just getting lost to time. For example, one of my favorite artists is Jack Ferragasso, and Jack is my friend. He's 93 years old, and he has this phenomenal career of doing artwork for pulp novels from the 40s through the 70s, and I have been putting a lot of time in the past few years in making sure that his work doesn't get lost, and going through his studio and photographing all his paintings and putting prints out there in the world for him to continue to make money on a lot of his old work. And he's just he's a dear friend, and just preserving the past has always been so important to me. And when he's gone, I want to make sure that there's people who didn't know about him before who are still learning about him and still purchasing, books about his life and his art career. And as a kid, finding old pulp comics and, flea markets and things like that, I was always so attracted to them. I was always obsessed with Famous Monsters magazine, and Basil Gogos, one of my favorite artists. And I remember when he passed away a few years ago, I was just at a convention with him a couple weeks before, just like when Bernie Wrightson had passed. I'd been at a convention with him just a few weeks before, and it was just so much of that. And I'm just like, I want to be someone who doesn't just focus on myself and my future and what I bring to comics. I want to preserve what was already there before it's gone, because so much of it can get lost. And, there's so much content already that we've already lost to the world because it was during a time of physical only media. And so as long as I'm here, I want to keep going back and finding everything I can and putting it back out there. And you're really keeping the public domain alive, and working with a lot of cool collectors who are passionate about the same thing to sometimes let me borrow things so I can scan them and things like that. It's just something I love.
It's like, I'm sitting here thinking, as you're talking about this stuff, is like another example of you making sure to lift up other people and having their stuff not disappear. So on this Valentine's Day, sir, I give you the Valentine for what you do for our industry and continue to do for the creators in it. If people wanted to continue asking for advice, like I've seen someone that wants to have advice about lettering and things, but we've run out of time. Is there a way they can contact you through social media? What's the best way?
You can find me on Twitter at Joshua Frantic, and SourcePoint Press at Source PT Press on Twitter. I'm pretty responsive. If you want to make sure that you're hitting me and not someone else, I recommend hitting my personal page, because you might get me or a slew of other people if you hit up the SourcePoint page. You can also find me on Instagram at Joshua Frantic, all one word. And feel free to message me anything, anytime, any questions. I usually get back to everybody within 24 to 48 hours or so. At least I try to. I don't recommend Facebook Messenger, only because I'm about 100 messages behind at any given moment. I might miss it. But yeah, absolutely. I'll talk about any part of any creative process, production process, the industry, anything you want.
Thank you so much. Thank you for everything that you do. To that end, everybody, please do remember to subscribe to our programming here on the XP and support independent publishing and publishers like SourcePoint, because without you guys, it just doesn't happen. So thank you for all you guys interacting. Stay tuned to the experience. We've got more programming coming up next. Thanks so much, Josh.
Thanks for having me.